So Nam aloha, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. And let me just share my screen here. I want to make sure my sound is on. Yep. Okay. Just see if I'm here live. Nam aloha, everyone. Okay. Welcome to the live stream. And share my screen here. Great. Okay. So if you could put your astrological information in your human design, if you know it. If you don't, always go back down to my information box, to my links, and you'll find where you can get your free chart. So today I wanted to give some good news and thank you for all the well wishers that have been emailing me and sending me messages about for Maui, because I live here on Maui. And it's really beautiful what's happening. I'm really seeing this awakening the sleeping phoenix really start to emerge and manifest here. We're here. So somebody asked me on Instagram, they asked me a question about like, what would you, in a sentence, if you were to explain in a sentence what the awakening the sleeping phoenix new global cycle is, this new 400-year cycle that's beginning in 2027, and that's why we're seeing so much movement on the planet, right? So much change. Maybe you're experiencing a lot of change in your life too. So what is the awakening the sleeping phoenix global? For you personally, it's the birth of your authentic self. You see, that's big ass self, not little s self. That's the ego. So the birth of your authentic self from the ashes of your former self. So that's what's happening to each of us. We're going through a huge mutation as a human species, collectively, but also individually. But it starts with the individual. It starts with you. So this can be painful because the ashes of your former self, that's all your conditioning, right? That's all the conditioning that we received as soon as we came out of the womb. That's when it started. So the collectively, let's just go collectively and we'll go back to, it's really about letting go of this codependency on these institutions. So we're leaving the cross of planning, okay? And this is when these institutions were very firm and very rooted in our society and our culture. And now they're starting to crumble. And we're seeing this. So many people are losing trust in our institutions. And this is all part of the play, right? So little g in our educational system, our medical system, our financial system, legal, religion, marriage, military, police, these are all crumbling. This is all crumbling. This is the Titanic that's coming down for 2027. So just to bring it back to Maui, that have you been following it, especially follow the people that are actually on the ground, right? You'll get the truth that way. You'll get the truth and you'll get a really sense of what's happening. In the community, it's really taken over because little g, they're playing their role, right? It's like they're saying, don't rely on us. Don't rely on us anymore, people, right? You've got to rely on yourself, like pointing back to yourself. So this is what's happened in the community. Well, they're not helping. They're not only not helping, they're actually creating blocks for aid to get to where it's needed, to the community, because of all the red tape and the bureaucracy. You know, the 60, right? Pluto in the 60. That's what that represents here. Right down here, right? Pluto's been in 60 for quite a while, and it will be there until next year. So and back again. So they took it in their own hands. It's like, well, okay, well, we're going to do it. And they organize their community, and if they're just running a tight ship, it's quite amazing to watch. People are stepping up, like true leaders are stepping up that are there to serve the people. So it's beautiful to see. And I just see this is so the awakening the sleeping phoenix energy, right? So this is what, like, the overall energy is, don't be relying on these institutions. They're going to crumble. They're crumbling. We're seeing that. right? It's time to rely on your own self, right? This is what the cross of the sleeping phoenix is about. And so it connects with if this is the human design chart here for the cross of the sleeping phoenix. These are called important keys and they're gates. And so this is an inner technology revolution. We think, oh, the technology revolution and all these gadgets and this and that. It's like that's just a reflection of the real technology is us, right? It's within us. So you've got the 34 that comes off the sacral, and then the 20. That's the channel of charisma that joins up with sacral to the throat. And then the 59 comes off the sacral, and then the 55, right, off the solar plexus. So these are the new keys. So kind of the themes of this new 400-year cycle, 2027 to 2438. So this is motivated to follow your authentic convictions with honesty to liberate the spirit, to liberate your higher self. It's all about empowerment. This is the time, right? So the last cycle that we've been in, the last 200-year cycle, the cross of planning, it was all about tribal consciousness, right? It was like tit for tat. It's the bargain, they call it in human design. I do this, and then the tribe does this for me. I sacrifice my authentic self, and then the tribe gives this back to me, gives me a job, gives me shelter, takes care of me, basically. But I have to make this sacrifice. There's no room for individuality. There wasn't any room for individuality in the cross of planning. And the cross of the sleeping phoenix is all about, this isn't just about being different and a rebel, like that can be ego-based. This is about you being your true, authentic self. There's no script. You're not reacting. It's just really, really natural to you. So this is what we're burning away, right? With the phoenix. You're going in. This is resurrection energy, right? The phoenix. It's death and rebirth. It's death and rebirth and complete recreation of the self, right? That's you. That's each one of us. And that's humanity that's rising from the flames. So the fire or the fuel that burns this former self, this conditioned self, is the emotional body. We're evolving through our emotional body. This is the solar plexus mutation in 2027, and the children born after 2027 are already going to have this mutation. They're already going to be there. But we have to do this work because we were born in the Piscean age. So the emotional body gets stunted from 0 to 7 years old, because that's when it starts to develop, through unresolved wounding. That's why child abuse is so prevalent on our planet, because it stunts that growth and that you never fully develop as a human into your true power, right? So this is the work that we have to do, and that's what's coming up, right? That's what's coming up, especially now. What we're seeing, a lot of survival stuff is going to come up for people. A lot of fear is going to come up for people. This is this old trauma coming up. Remember that the external world is just a reflection of what's going on in the collective unconscious of humanity. So we're going to see it's going to bring up trauma for people. And this is the fuel, right? This is the fuel that's burning away the former self. So if you don't know this, and you're not really on your spiritual path, and you've been kicking back, I'm sure none of you here watching this are going to feel that or have that experience. I don't know. Maybe somebody will stumble across this, right? It can be scary times, right? What's going on in the world, but this is just all part of the play of consciousness as we evolve and grow. So this authentic self, the true you, gets buried by false identities and stuck emotions. So these identities are what you believe you are, right? They're false. It's the not self, and human design calls it the not self. And it's very connected to the mind, but what's fueling those identities are these stuck emotions from 0 to 7 years old. So a lot of memory, emotional memory, is coming up to be integrated. So right now we're in the burning stage, right, of the phoenix. We're in the burning stage. Okay, so we did that. So that's what you got to know about the cross of the sleeping phoenix, that this is the process that we're in, and to not give your power over to what you're seeing out in the world. It's really about becoming self-referenced. You know, the former self, right? Your conditioned self, the person you thought you were, you believed yourself to be, that was completely created by this culture, right? This conditioning field that we've been living in. And it's not you, right? To let that go. It's all about letting that go. And how you know is through loss, right? Things will just start to go away, right? We'll just drift away, people, relationships, jobs, place of living. It just means that it's not aligned with the self that's being born, right? That's being born right now. So I want to remind people, I love this meme. I posted this a while ago, and we can learn from this. We can learn from nature. So scientists, I'll read it out loud. Scientists grew trees in a sealed biosphere and couldn't work out why they fell over before they matured. So like in a lab setting, right? They eventually figured out that while they provided the perfect growing environment, there was no wind to provide the stress that makes trees grow strong, right? Enough to support themselves. So we need this. We need this challenge. We're like these trees. We need this challenge to grow and evolve. And that's what we're feeling right now. Like it's just, we can't go back to sleep, right? When you start to wake up, like what's going on in the world? There's no security out here, right? We've been taught to give our power away, right, to others and outer authority. And now we have to be self-referenced. Like authenticity is your currency right now. You can depend on your authentic self. That's what's going to guide you through this time right now, not people outside of you, right? Unless there are people outside of you that are pointing you back to you, right? If they're pointing you back to you, then that's a good person to follow. But otherwise, always be going back to the self. So let's look at the timeline, right? So the timeline's changing, and this is good news. This is really good news for us. So this was back in June 22nd. I did a video. So we know that the nodal axis zodiac, the zodiac switched from Scorpio to Taurus, remember? The south node in Scorpio, north node in Taurus, and then it switched over, right? It switched over from south node Libra to north node Aries, right? So you know that if you follow astrology, but then we can go deeper with this system. We can, because the zodiac sign can be divided up into 6 gates, right? So this is the gates changing again. So this was the theme of June 22nd. So go back to way back to June 22nd. Feels like a lifetime ago, right? With the time bending and everything that what we're experiencing right now. So, okay, so all the way back to June 22nd. And then this is when the south node went into 50.6, and then 3.6 was the north node. So you see here, this is a channel, right? This is human design system. So there's the sacral, that red shape there. And then the brown shape is the root chakra. And so 360, so the north node's in 3, you see that. And then 60 is Pluto. So Pluto activating the north node. And it's still activated, this 360, right? Because these are long-term transits. So this is the channel of mutation got activated, right? So for this, so this was all about limitation. So it's switching over, right, on August 26th. So it's almost done. This channel will no longer be activated globally. And if you have this natally, then you are an agent for evolution, like huge evolutionary change. So what it does, it sends out a frequency from you to the field of human consciousness. And this is our pressure. It's a pressure. The root chakra always provides a pressure. This pressure to change and mutate. Mutation is just not grow. Oh, I'm growing slowly, incrementally, right? Going up the mountain. This is like quantum leaps in change. This is real change. It's like waking up one morning. I've experienced this. You get up in the morning and you're like, who am I? You know what I mean? Like everything, you feel so different, even though your environment is the same, but you're the one that's changing and shifting inside internally. So these are the quantum leaps. These are like the big insights, right? The 360. So with this, and you may have experienced that, and please put it in the comments, right? Because I learn from people's experience so that we can put this puzzle piece together. Because it's about experience, and you're going to see, right, with this nodal shift too that's coming. So the 60 is the shadow of limitation. This is little g. If you want to describe little g in a nutshell, it's 60. This is red tape, bureaucracy. It seems like everything is just stopping you from moving forward, right? You feel stuck, like you keep hitting your head against the invisible wall. Okay. And then there's the 3, which is chaos. So we've been seeing that chaos, and I'll just bring it to 50, right? The nodal axis at this time was 3. So moving away from the 50 south node, right? South node's 50 into the 3 north node. So 50 was the shadow of corruption, and then 3's chaos. So we not seen that? Like a lot of it since June. Corruption, corruption, corruption. And then chaos, chaos, chaos. So it seems, right? So it seems if you just look at it at surface level. Okay, so this 63, so 3 is like difficulty at the beginning. It's about change. When you're making real change, there's always that, it's the wind in the trees, right? It's that stress, it's that pressure, right? It's that pressure as you begin something new. And then it builds a momentum, right? And then it becomes easier and easier, especially if we're carving to completely new consciousness on this planet. It's going to take some effort, right? So how the 360 works in terms of mutation, it's not a consistent mutation, that it's always there. It's sometimes dormant and sometimes it's active. So it works in a pulse, and you have no control over it. And if you have this natally, you know what I'm talking about, right? So it can bring depression and hopelessness and despair sometimes, because you want change and you want evolution. We all want that. But then nothing's happening. Nothing seems to be happening, right, in your world. And it can bring depression and despair and those kinds of negative feelings, like nothing's happening. And then meanwhile, things are getting constricted or contracted. I want to use that word, contracted. Everything's getting contracted, right? So this could be contraction. It can be manifest as I don't have enough energy. I don't feel like I have enough energy to do all these things that I want to do. I don't have this vitality. I don't have vitality. I don't feel healthy. I don't feel like my health is good at all. I'm not in my relationships. I'm feeling contracted in my relationship. There's not enough love. It's always there's not enough. There's not enough love. There's not enough resources. Like my money is getting contracted, like inflation. We're seeing that out in the world, right? It's like everything's getting contracted and the prices are going up, and I feel like I'm getting contracted in terms of my resources more and more and more and more. Okay, so it can bring frustration. It can bring frustration. So what's happening here for mutation to happen, okay, is all that energy is getting contracted. It's energy. Let's talk consciousness now. Contracted, 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 so that it can explode out, right? So the more contraction that you're feeling, especially now, because we're coming to the end of this nodal axis, right? We're going into a whole new nodal axis, that you're going to feel more and more and more. It's like I can't lose anymore. Like I'm coming to like the bare threads, of this energy. Well, it's like the bow and the arrow, right? The arrow's going back. This is the contraction. It's going back and back and back. And it's like, I can't go back anymore, because it has to go so back that I can, right, have that trajectory forward. It's going to be more powerful. So this is what we're in, So here's the good news, right? Here's the good news. So let me know if you've been feeling this contraction so we can all share together, right? Because we're kind of on the front line of this, right? We're on the front line of this new consciousness that's coming in the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And we'll see how this works. Okay, so this is off now as of August 26th, right? And then we're moving into this 42. So we're leaving the 32, the south node 32, right here. And that's off the spleen. That's all about survival, right? Leaving that and moving into this 42, right? So no channels are defined here, right? So the 42, what's the 42 all about? It's the gate of growth. This is the expansion that's coming, right? So it's watch yourself decline, because it can feel like that, like I'm declining, I'm regressing, I'm going backwards because of the contraction energy. So watch me decline as I rise. That's the phoenix, as I rise up from my former self, because I've stripped so much away from me, right? The false self, that's not me. So I'm praying that everybody that's watching this has gone through this experience, because it means you're on the phoenix path. You're on the path of the phoenix. So just hold steady, right? We're going to feel a shift this week on August 26th. So growth. So this is about the gate of growth. So we're letting go of the 32, and that's the channel. Oh, that's wrong. That should be the channel of not maturation. The channel of maturation is 4253. The 3254 is the channel of ambition. It's like ambition. It's the marrying maiden. It's called, the ancient term for this, right? The 54. This is the shadow of greed and the shadow of failure. So it's letting that go. This is old consciousness that I've got to like accumulate material possessions so that I can be safe. I have to aspire. I've got to climb up that social ladder. I got to get to the top of the heap. This is our old conditioning. We're taught that right from school, right? We got to be at school at 9 a.m. Everything's a rush. Everything's stressful. You've got this assignment due, and you've got to do better than other people, right? You've got to get an A, and it's all in comparison to other people, and sports. And I'm not saying competition's a bad thing, but it's like there was an over focus on that in terms of our educational system. So we're letting that go. So this 42 is about like opening up to a new experience. It's the channel of maturation. It's about a new cycle of experience for you, right? And so it's not coming from the mind, because the mind will want to go into this 32. Well, what if you fail, right? You can't fail, and fail means I failed materially on the planet. I don't earn enough money. I don't have enough material resources. I'm not at the top of the heap. I don't have the title, right? I'm not the expert or whatever. It's to let that go and then surrender, right? 42 is the gift of detachment. I'm surrendering into this new experience. And once I do that, then growth comes. This means the expansion comes for you. But it's not going to come with you just sitting around and doing nothing, and right on your couch and not facing your fears. And that's the cosmic joke. When we make that step forward on our soul purpose, then we're faced with our deepest fears, right? That's this, right? This is the fuel, right? And our fears come from the 0 to 7-year-olds, right? Our self, those stuck emotions are coming up to be cleared. That's the fuel for the transformation that's happening, right? For you. So, what else do I want to say about that? So 32 is about continuation, right? Look, it's the gate of continuity. This is continuing the old ways, right? The old human ways. They have to go. We're breaking that continuity. We're coming into a whole new consciousness. We're leaving tribal consciousness behind. There's only two consciousness now, right? And that's individual. authenticity, that's number one, and then collective. And you cannot be connected to the collective until you are completely authentic and you know your own frequency and your own consciousness. The other thing I wanted to mention too, what we were letting go of, because I didn't go in here, is this 50 is corruption. So the frequency of individually of what's not authentic to me, right? That's corrupt frequency, letting that behind, go, leaving behind. But this is values, right? It's also about values, this 5027, that channel. Values, but old values. This is our conditioning, right? The old values of like, to think about yourself is selfish. That's an old value that doesn't serve you anymore in this new time that we're entering. Or to sacrifice your authentic self for the greater good, right? Being manipulated by shame and guilt to go along the get along. You know, there's one thing about having the courage to stand up to power. Yes, that takes courage. But you know what it takes more courage to do is stand up to the crowd and say no when everybody else around you is saying yes. That takes more courage, is to step away from the crowd and you know, stand by your convictions. Why not adopt the cross of the sleeping phoenix now, right? So what is it, 2023? Why not now, this new energy, and this will carry you through, right? So standing up for your authentic convictions, which is your truth, stand up for your truth. This is what my self is saying. This is what my intuition is saying. Even though everybody can be slinging you, you know, throwing insults at you and calling you crazy, and because you're not following the crowd. I would take note. If you're following a crowd, I would step back and it's like, okay, what's this about? Why am I following this crowd? Well, you're probably afraid of other people, what they think of you, right? So remember with the Libra, right? What we're leaving behind is seeing yourself through other people's eyes. Immediately, you're going to be in the judgment, like judging. This debilitating selflessness, the doormat, being the doormat, and being spiritual does not mean that you're a doormat, right? You don't get walked all over. Love can be fierce, right? When you're really operating from the heart, you know when to setting a boundary. It's just about setting a boundary. You have that right. That's more conditioning, how a spiritual person should act and behave. People pleasing, you got to let that behind. Revenge, let that be. This continues on, right? This letting go of this is self node stuff, the shadow Libra stuff. Revenge, needing fairness and justice, right? So we have to watch that too on this planet, because there's a lot of people want people to pay for what they've done, right, to humanity. We got to watch that, letting that go. That's God's job. It's not your job. It's not my job. Codependence, right? So clinging to those institutions, but clinging to people in your life. Tit for tat mentality. I'm keeping score. That's a shadow Libra thing too. You do this, and okay, and then I'll do this, right? It's not authentic. Belief that your survival depends on your relationships, that you can't survive alone. This is a big one. This is our tribal DNA, that we wouldn't survive if we weren't in the tribe. Got to let all that behind. And this means facing your fears. So growth is to go here. Independence, right? Independence. And this isn't like ego independence. I'm in the island. I don't need anybody. Should be say interdependent, right? But you're self-sovereign, which means you're self-referenced. You're not outer referenced. That's the old way. You're self-aware. You're aware of yourself. You're self-reflective, right? You're trusting your own instincts. You're a leader of yourself first. You have courage and healthy giving, and nurture yourself, right? And this is completely trusting in your instincts of your generator MG, right? It's trusting that sacral. Projectors trusting your aura will bring in those invitations, right? It's like not putting people on pedestals. That's what codependency is, right? So, and then letting go of this competition, being stingy with your spirit and time. This is like tit for tat, and preserving things that don't serve the human race. That's a shadow of the 32. You've got to be very future oriented now, which means you have to be in the present now moment. You must isolate little community and become paranoid of the rest of the world, like going off the grid in my little tiny community. You want to still stay connected with humanity because we're all in it together, all of us. And then with the 32, the fear of failure, then you start acting from that place, that shadow, right? And then what are you going to do? You're going to the past. Well, this is what worked in the past for me, or look what everybody else is doing. I better go with them, even though they may be like walking off the cliff like lemmings, right? It's always to go back and train yourself to go back and listen to your intuition, right? So there's the fear, the failure in the material world. And that's what the ego is telling you. Okay, so that's what I want to share. And I'll probably go refer deeper because we've got the full moon coming up, the third moon. It's a blue moon, August 31st in Pisces, and I'll go more into that. Okay. And I picked an ego card. I haven't done an ego card in a while, and it's so perfect. Okay, so I prayed over the cards before I picked this. And so it's the experts, right? You can see that's the experts. So this is the ego trap card, right? The ego trap card, something that will pull you back into the not self, right? So this is so perfect for the cross of the sleeping phoenix. Is experts. So this is giving your power over to someone, right? That you put on a pedestal, that you make their voice more important than your own voice, right? And you can see this out in the world. Like, how dare you research? How dare you read and try to find the truth yourself? To listen to us, right? We have the truth. Nobody else. Everything's misinformation. Everything's fake news, right? And you know what fake news is? Is listening to your head and your mind and your ego. That's fake news. And why do people go along? Because they haven't done this work, right? What's coming up is that the trauma from 0 to 7 years old, and there's no clarity then. It's just like projecting father, mother onto the authority figure, and I just have to do whatever they say. Right. So it puts people in child, and then they're easily led. Right. You're not a spiritual adult. And that's what this 4253, the channel of maturation, this is about growing up. Right. About growing up. So the experts, so believing that these experts are more qualified than you, right? And then giving you advice and you blindly obeying them. So be aware of that. You always want to go inside for your answers, right? That your own inner authority is there. Even if you trust, like it's your best friend, it's like the closest, your soulmate, the closest person, the person that can get the closest to you. Even still, you want to say, I need to contemplate this. I need to take this into meditation. I need to feel if this is true for me. And if they're a true ally, they're going to respect that. They're going to encourage that. Like, yes, listen to your intuition. I trust your intuition. Even if I don't like the answer, I'm going to trust that, right? Okay. So, you see here. Okay. So I've got my reading, so check that out on my website. Everything's on my website. I'm revamping it, and I've got my Phoenix Club. If you know you're on the path of the Phoenix, you want to be there. I'm doing daily transit reports. We have weekly meetings. There's a focus, right? So we work with the transits, but then we do a meditation. We're doing a meditation together. And it's just really, really supportive environment, really good people. So you're going to meet your fractal line there too. So, and it's a 7-day free trial too. So check that out. Resources are coming. Resources are coming. So trust that. It's time to move forward, right? And chase the divine, chase God, get to God. Everything gets to you. Okay. So namaloa, everybody.